Velated, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you. Our Africa unity is all that we are preaching for. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso decided to honor the invitation of the new president of Benin. The three nations, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, were there, and it was so beautiful. But the questions on everyone's lip is, are we seeing a new alliance? Is Benin trying to join Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Because we have seen that when Patrice Talon was in office, the tension was too much. We saw always Patrice Talon, Benin is this, Benin is that. The friction was too much. So the panel, like they said, it is a good sign that when it comes to relationship, if our leaders have their political or ideological difference, it doesn't mean that it applies to us, the people. And the new president, the new initiative that he has decided to initiate is going to be something superb if he will continue. And if the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso finally see that what they have been talking about, this new president is making sure the territory are not used as a launch pad against them. It's going to be beautiful. And all that we are looking for in Africa is the unity we have been preaching for. Oneness. We are one people. And we can never achieve the Africa we are looking for if we are not ready to fight, to work together, to do things together. We just need to start seeing ourselves as one people. That is the most important thing.
Quite evidently, the delegations sent to Benin are not just any delegations. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, the head of diplomacy of Burkina Faso, the head of diplomacy of Mali, the Prime Minister of Niger, these are quite strong, quite significant and symbolic delegations. What does it signify when you look at these images?
Yes, thank you. I think following Brother Sawadogo, I would say we must congratulate President Talon for keeping his word. Because that is what in Africa disrupts our states. The issues of multiple terms of constitutions tampered with, of constitutional coups. But President Patrice Talon kept his word and should be commended. And that as well, we must question, does Benin have a clear schedule for its former heads of state? Because that is also Africa's problem. When people are no longer ministers, no longer heads of state, there is no career, meaning a schedule or a defined life for them, how they should behave, where they should live, what they should do. So I think he kept his word, and that should be commended, and it is for everyone's good. Now, when we look at the arrival of this AES delegation in Benin, we must commend the new Beninese president, because if he had not been formally, legally, and diplomatically invited, the AES would not have made the trip. So this shows that the new Beninese president sent formal invitation letters in a solemn manner to these countries, and that's why the AES also went solemnly to this inauguration. So for me, I think it's a good sign in our relations, because we must not forget that there were quite a few tensions, but not tensions between the peoples, because often in Africa, we make amalgamations. It's true that we say countries, we call the names of countries, but our peoples have no problem because the peoples are beyond borders. The borders we see are something that is not material, but immaterial. So the peoples have no problem. So if the leaders have problems due to their political alignment, we must make the distinction. Therefore, the new Beninese president solemnly invited the AES, and the AES also responded solemnly. Now, I think that beyond what we see, there will be, in any case, contacts on site, and people will start discussing new perspectives on their relationships. And this should also be acknowledged because the new Beninese president, as we like to say in Africa, is young. And if he opens such perspectives, we can only commend that, because you see, when a problem arises in a neighboring country in Africa, it is not only that country that suffers. Even its neighbors suffer from it. So we must take this into account to understand that countries are, as they say, in need of each other. I think this is a new revival, and he has done well diplomatically. And now we wait to see what the future relations will be, because when you look economically at the port of Benin with Niger, everything that has happened there. So I think it's a good sign that should be welcomed, and it's pleasing to see African heads of state interacting like this with respect and especially in the interest of the people.
Karim Diallo quite evidently just said it. The rift between the leaders of these countries has had an economic impact, but a huge one on each country. When we consider the situation in Niger, the situation in Benin, two neighboring countries with quite significant commercial exchanges that were suddenly interrupted, the borders were closed, the economic impact was enormous. Are we moving today towards a kind of pragmatism in the neighborly relations between these countries?
Yes, pragmatism and also realism. I must commend this generational transfer of power, which proves once again that in Africa one should not necessarily despair and that we can work towards a better future. We must commend, I think, the determination and commitment of President Patrice Talon, but especially the discipline observed by his constitutional successor, whom he took under his wing and gradually elevated. And I think it's a beautiful proof that Africans can also achieve great things when they are determined and disciplined. Let's return to the presence. On the question of the presence of representatives from AS countries at the inauguration of President Wadani.
I must be able to specify that in the device, Beninese, the president of the republic. Just like in Burkina Faso. He is the first diplomat of the country. And therefore, when you already send representatives, even if it is by invitation to the nomination of the first of the president, who is the first diplomat and who only delegates, gives his powers to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think it is a first diplomatic victory that you mark, and that inevitably there will be returns from the Beninese part, and I think it takes more in addition to going in this direction, and ensure that the interests of the people are the first compasses. I must also be able to specify that the advantage and therefore of peaceful change. Power is what? That is to say that there is a new breath. That is blown in there is a new dynamic. That is blown in there is a new pragmatism, which is exercised. And I am sure that both on Beninese domestic policy, then on foreign policy. Although President Wadanis was born so from the presidential camp, there will certainly be adjustments according to his approach. According to SA method in any case, it will therefore bring a special touch. He now belongs to the country of LAEs. To stay in this dynamic, and to think that the most important thing today is to ensure that the Africans can work together more and more. In addition, African public opinion will force leaders to work together and to prioritize especially the interests, therefore populations beyond the temptations that may exist and which are normal in all. In any geopolitical positioning, this pragmatism there, Martin Zambogo, it can have for center of gravitation the security issue, because the new president, Beninese, declared the security issue can no longer be treated with the old recipes of the CDAO, but through bilateral and open collaboration. Equal, it is a strong signal. Ah, yes, already it is a good message that it sends, but I always say, let's stay on guard and see how it will develop. Because what's the problem? It took a long time, even in the land of Sarah, to recognize the involvement of foreign powers in this terrorism here, and it requires a lot of courage. This courage is not shared today. Many countries and many intellectuals are still in denial. They refuse the involvement of France, the very direct involvement of France, the involvement of some Gulf countries, the involvement of the United States, and simply because, people have no historical memory since slavery. To know that, and Europeans are always constant in their approaches and relationships towards Africa now, will the President Romeo Wadagni have this courage? Will it be supported also by his army? Because it is not a decision that is solely up to the President, even if he is the supreme leader of the army. There are also his military officers. We remember here at Burkina Faso, when the President Traoré wanted to make decisions. In relation to the break-in agreements with the France of the generals presented themselves to him to tell him that it is a mistake not to make. because Burkina will not last 3 months. There is what they say, and before the elections. But there is also what happens when you are in the presidential chair. We are facing realities. We are facing and with powers that have interests. And these interests are not shared interests with Africa. But it turns out that these foreign powers, their advantage is that they are united when it comes to the exploitation of Africa. And unfortunately, we are isolated and both take risks. And sometimes they are not supported by their people, by intellectuals and by the military and things of security. I think that to the Benin, the army has already paid a heavy tribute. And I think if the president takes the resolution really to reorient the security devices, I wish he would be accompanied by his army and by the people of Benin.
Our leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are not committing a crime against anybody. What they are fighting for is the unification of Africa, Africa taking control over its destiny, not us sitting here for people to move into the continent, deciding the fate, who should lead us, and for us to continue to be doing things in their interest, as if our version of the independence is the junior version. These are the things that our leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are fighting against. Like one time, the Sierra Leone First Lady said, the moment you start to do the right thing, they'll use the opposition, they will turn your country into chaos, you will never have stability, because these ones that are fighting us, making sure they continue to have the resources cheap, will never allow you to do things on your own. That will benefit your people. And we need to understand that the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso know all these things, and they are ready. And the African has always been the problem of the African, because we still don't understand why we ourselves should be managers of our own destiny. If we do, we wouldn't allow people to be using our borders, to be using ourselves, giving us peanuts to turn against our continent. So the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are not against working with any leader, but what they are fighting for is a total liberation of the African, where the economy and everything will be for us. Like Nkrumah said, what is the essence of this political independence when economically we are not free? So we should fight for the economic independence of Africa, and we can only get that when we are the ones that take charge of our destiny, our resources. It is beautiful that we are seeing that Benin, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are reuniting, because Africa, we are talking about is unity. We need to start seeing ourselves as one people. We should be able to work together as a people. We are talking about the free trade area in Africa. How do we trade freely among ourselves when we do not trust ourselves? When we cannot move freely among ourselves because we are not in good terms with ourselves? The leadership is what always takes decisions on behalf of us. So if our leaders are not in good terms, how do we, the people, then move among ourselves freely? We are happy that at least the tension between these nations will die off. And we are hoping that the leader, the new one, as younger he is, will also do his best to make sure he fights to protect the people in Benin. Make sure he is able to do the things that the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso take decisions that will prosper his people, nationalize the resources, take back everything that is in the control of other people. What we are asking for in Africa is that people must stop treating our independence as a junior version of independence, like the way they sit to decide the prices of our resources without us being part of this. These are the things we are asking to stop, where we sit on the table with equal partnership, equal interest, and not for us to be given what they think due us. We are hoping that we will unite. The unity will only come when our leaders are ready to work with each other. Our leaders are ready to understand that this is the time for us to actually put whatever we are saying in words, where our people will be protected, where the resources will be used for our people, where we are standing firm like Paul Kagame said they need to add value. They should be firm in taking decisions. It is better to take the hard decision to receive the sanctions, to receive everything and build out of the sanctions than to say a simple yes because you want an easy way out. And then at the end of the day, your people suffer. Generations suffer. We know that the system that was given to us, like P.O. Lumumba said, what does this democracy even mean in our languages? We don't have words for that. We are practicing things that we don't even know what they are. And that is what is conflicting with the progress of Africa. And these are the things that the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are fighting against. We hope to see Africans uniting, and together we change the continent for ourselves. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's colonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in Benin.